Since the release of Pokemon Legends ZA, one of the biggest talking points I've seen has been player fashion in Pokemon games. The new games allow you to fully customize your character with different fits and colors of pieces of clothing. And I think that is a trend that people are really liking to see, and being able to individualize and tailor their character to their own personality or the mons that they like to use on their given team. I think that the focus on fashion and Pokemon as of recent, in addition to another video I've seen on YouTube recently, shout out to Clovergirle, who ranked every single player character in the mainline Pokemon games based on their outfits. I've been doing a lot of thinking about fashion in Pokemon, and in particular, the player character's rival. I feel like there's a lot of personality and attitude that has to go into a rival character, and I know there's different tropes of rivals that we've seen throughout the games since their inception, and I kind of just wanted to take a look at all of the rivals that have appeared in the mainline Pokemon games to kind of see, what do we think of their outfits? Are they fly or not? Just a disclaimer here at the beginning of the video, because I know there are going to be some people who see some of the characters ranked and are going to raise their eyebrows at it. I am being relatively loose, I would say, on what constitutes as a rival. I think some of the characters later on in some of the more recent games are definitely debatable as to whether or not they're rivals, and are kind of seen more as like friends or companions throughout your journey. But I just wanted to look at all of them. I'm not really thinking about it too much. I feel like everyone on this list is someone that has a relationship with the player character and they battle at some point. I don't know if that constitutes a rival, but we're going to look at them all and we're going to rank them from 1 to 10. Also, I think it's worth saying my plan is to rank individual characters multiple times if remakes have happened. So for instance, like starting off with Blue appears in multiple games. He appears in the original Gen 1 games, but also in the Gen 3 remakes. So we will be ranking by generation each appearance that a character makes, if that makes sense. Starting off with the OG rival, we have Blue in his appearance in the Generation 1 games. And Blue here has a pretty simple outfit. He's got this like indigo long sleeve that's kind of long with this interesting patch on the bottom, which is kind of a theme that we see in some of the earlier Pokemon art of the rival characters. He's got these dark wash pants and some boots that cover the pants. What you also can't see in this picture is the long pendant he's wearing, which, goes into the outfit. But overall, I would say this is a pretty simple outfit. There's nothing too much going on here. It's pretty simple. I feel like what Blue is embodying here right now is like the minimalist, high quality basics guy. Like you would definitely see Blue in this outfit wearing some dark washed Japanese denim at like a coffee shop, probably being annoying and side-eyeing people for not understanding the real complexity to what he's wearing. But besides that fact, it's a pretty solid outfit. Again, it is pretty safe, and but I'm not gonna lie, I am questioning the pants being tucked into the high top shoes. I think that is definitely a choice that, if this was on a real person, would look pretty whack. But I think for Blue it works. This is a pretty solid outfit, pretty safe. The colors work. I think the darker colors definitely give off a rival sort of feel, and it just works well for him. I think this is safe but solid, and I think we're gonna give him a 7 out of 10 for this. Next up, we got a real hard hitter here. We've got Silver. Now Silver's outfit is kind of interesting. He's wearing this like half zip sweatshirt, honestly kind of similar to what I'm wearing. It's even got the red trimming on the sleeves. Maybe I'm being a little biased here, and he's got that pullover with some purplish cargos and these black sneakers that the pants are also tucked into. I think we've just kind of got to accept that the pants are tucked into the sneakers in some of this design, probably just to be able to show off the character a little better. So I'm not going to be judging that too hard, because trust me, I think later there's going to be some actual trash that will need to be judged much harder. But this is a fire outfit. He's got the coordination from the top to the shoes. The purple of the pants is maybe a little bit of a bizarre choice to some people, but I think it kind of breaks up the really matchy tones. I mean, he's so matchy that the color of his hair is matching the accent on his pullover and his sneakers. You gotta kind of break up all of the black and red a little bit, and I think the purple does that pretty well. I just overall think this is a solid fit, and I mean, you gotta admit, he just looks evil right here, and he is like embodying what it means to be the like nasty hater rival, and I love it. Also, what I think is interesting about this outfit is the shoes. At first, I was like, what are these based off of? They kind of look like Jordan 11s, but I don't know. To me, they're kind of given like the what are those shoes called? There's Nike has this one model with the huge air bubble in the back that's like circular, and there's another one that's slightly forward. They kind of look like the Air Zoom Flight 95. I don't know if that was actual inspiration for this character, but if so, I think that's a crazy pull. And for that, as a sneaker enthusiast myself, Silver gets big points. I think I'm going to give Silver a 9 out of 10. I know we're starting off really strong here, but I just think that these two first outfits have been pretty solid, all things considered. Things get a little weird in Gen 3 because your rival is technically just the opposite gendered player character. So like if you choose Brendan, then your rival is May, and vice versa. So I know that's a little weird, but I guess for this game, or this set of games, we are technically rating the player characters, but they're also the rivals, if that makes sense. So starting off with Brendan's look is confusing in a lot of ways. First off, it's weird because I'm trying to think of these. To me, I'm thinking of him in frame of a player character, and why I feel like in a lot of ways he doesn't fully match the aesthetic of most of the player characters. But in the sense of a rival, maybe it's a little different. Maybe this works out a little better as a rival, because like he's got a lot of the dark colors. His outfit is pretty much exclusively black and red with some hits of orangish yellow, and actually something I've never noticed, some teal on his gloves. But I'm not sure, like to me, at least when I think about those colors, they don't necessarily all complement particularly well. But I don't know, it kind of works for Brendan. I think obviously one of the most divisive things about his entire look is the hat, which everyone thought was hair for a while, but I think is confirmed as a hat because of the remakes. It's weird. It's a weird hat. I don't really get the vibe of it. It's like a beanie with a fold over different color. It kind of looks like one of those hipster beanies from like the 2010s that people used to wear. Shoot, I used to wear those in like middle school. That's kind of a weird callback. Regardless, I think there are parts of his outfit that I do like. I like the jacket. I think the fact that he's got the collar of the jacket zipped up and it's almost like a little snap button, it looks like, is a pretty cool detail. And I do think the fact that there's the tie-in to that yellow, at least throughout the outfit, it's pretty cool. He's also got some interesting shoes on with like a Velcro strap that goes across the front of them. And I think that's, kind of a nice touch. Overall, I think this outfit for Brendan is like maybe like it's pretty solid, but I don't think for me this is a super heavy hitter. I think this is like a 6 for me. Moving on to May, who in this case is the first female rival we have, which is kind of cool. I think that her overall look, while it has a lot of the same colors and similar components to Brendan's, is just way better. I think that little biker shorts with the layered top, she's got the look going on that's like the long white t-shirt with something on top of it that's shorter to reveal the layer. And I think the way that those 3 layers of the red overshirt with the white undershirt and the black biker shorts works is very nice. She's also got the little yellow bag that sort of complements the yellow accent on the shoes, which kind of ties to that same color on Brendan. She doesn't have that teal color, which I think is for the best. I think that color doesn't really fit into the whole look. And she's also got a bandana on that ties everything together. I think this is a sick look. The only thing I have a gripe with is the black socks. I'm a black sock hater. I feel like if you're going to wear higher socks, they should not be black. I think in this case, for her look, they could be maybe white. That probably makes the most sense. Not a fan of the high black socks, but I think this is a good look. I think this one is like on par with blue. So I'm going to give May an 8. This is a good look. So next up in Gen 3, we have Brendan and May. Again, because the looks they have in Emerald are different than in Ruby and Sapphire. So Brendan's new look, I think, is actually better in Emerald. I think I said earlier that his look in the original Ruby and Sapphire games was better. And looking at this one now, I think it's just way better. I think the colors, the orange and the green, match a lot better with the black than his previous look that had teal in it for some reason. I don't understand why they did that. Regardless, he's got this short sleeve collared shirt with the collar popped. He's got like sweatpants but with baggy shorts over them, it looks like, which is a look I feel like you see a lot in women's fashion today, is like the layering of bottom things, like a jeans and a dress or jeans and a skirt. And you don't see it as much in guys, I don't think, or at least I haven't, but it's kind of an interesting look. I feel like these are also the simplest sneakers we've seen a guy wearing. Like usually the guy characters are wearing these insane high top shoes with lots of different straps or air units or whatever. And Brendan in this look is wearing these low, a lot more minimal sneakers that just complement the colors of his outfit. And I think that that works much better with the bagginess of the pants areas of this silhouette. So I think that was a good call. I think one of the touches that I like maybe most on this is the little gloves that he has. I like the fact that the part around his hand is orange, but that the cuffs seem to have like the layers to them of the black and the green, but the green part seems to be like tighter and more compressed around his wrist, whereas the black part seems to be kind of like slightly raised. Like I just think there's a lot of dimension to this that looks nice, and I do think, for what it's worth, even if the hat is a little whack, it looks better in the art on this design than it did on the previous one. The previous one was like kind of droopy and a little weird. This one, I think you can see his sideburns, so you can actually tell it's a hat. And I just think the green maybe makes it look a little bit better. I don't know. Overall, I think this one is, again, kind of a weird outfit, kind of weird color combination overall, even though I do think it works better. While I do think it's better than the original Brendan look, I don't love it still. To me, this is like a 6.5 at best. Now, while I did think Brendan's updated look in Emerald looked better than his original Ruby and Sapphire one, I unfortunately do not feel the same for May. So May's look is pretty similar to Brendan's in terms of the color composition, but I think that some of the things I liked most about the Ruby and Sapphire look are no longer here. She no longer has the layers on her top that were present in the original look, so she's just got biker shorts and this orange sleeveless collared shirt that also maybe has a zipper. I don't know, the top is kind of confusing me. It flares out like way too much, I feel, under the bag. I think the little Pokeball pockets are kind of cool, but I'm just not really feeling the top that much. The shoes are fine, I guess. She's still got black socks on, which you know how I feel about the black socks. Not a fan. And the bandana is also fine. I think the bandana ties it together. I don't think it looks bad, but to me this is not as good as her original look. So I think this is a 6 for me. This is maybe the first character inclusion that will get a little divisive for some people, because I am going to be talking about Wally as a rival. I know you literally fight him like twice. Is it even twice? Do you only fight him right before you fight the Elite Four? Honestly, I don't remember, but I still do want to rate Wally's look. Wally's got a pretty simple fit. He's got this white overshirt buttoned up on top of some green pants and these baby bluish shoes, and ultimately there's not a lot going on here, but I think this is a weirdly satisfying outfit. Like, all of the pieces I think look good. It's simple, but Wally's a simple character. I like the buttons on the shirt on the top and sleeves kind of complementing the shoe color. I think that's a nice touch. I do think, and again, this probably comes down to simplicity in graphics and design, The fact that his pants are the exact same shade of green as his hair is a little bit unsettling and a little bit weird. It's like that's like the ultimate sandwich outfit. It's like you're not even matching your shoes and your top, you're matching your actual hair color to your clothes. That's kind of insane work. But I do like the look. I do feel like it fits with Wally. I'm pretty sure in the games he's sick. He low-key looks like a hospital patient in this. So I think it kind of works. I think it works for his character. And honestly, I kind of like it. You know what? We'll give Wally a 6.5 for this. I think it's pretty low-key. It's pretty minimal. I think because of a few of those elements. Actually, you know what? Let's bump Wally up to a 7. Let's bump him up to a 7. I think this works. I like this outfit for him. Up next, we have another reoccurring character. We've got Blue from the Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes of the original Red and Blue. Now, unfortunately, I think this look is a downgrade from Blue's original look, at least in my eyes. His top is this black polo with little cutouts at the side and seemingly no buttons at the top, which just kind of reveal his little pendant, which is a lot shorter than on the original outfit. He's got purple cargos with some black shoes and these little purple wristbands. I don't know, everything about this outfit, at least in the art for him, is very plain, but not plain in like a elevated basics way of his original outfit, plain in like a kind of boring and just not all that inspiring look. He also is totally wearing like the shoes that you have to wear when you work in a restaurant kitchen, which I think definitely bump him down from his original boots and some of the footwear we've seen thus far out of Pokemon trainers. So yeah, I think this is gonna have to be sort of a bad downgrade for Blue. To me, this is like, I think a 6, unfortunately. Moving on to Gen 4, we've got Barry. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a Barry hater. I think Barry's a little annoying, and quite frankly, I don't think his outfit is much better than his personality. Barry is wearing this green scarf with a orange and white striped shirt, but it's like one of these shirt jacket things again with short sleeves. Okay, Pokemon. I don't think they're doing this too much anymore, but we've got to have a conversation about the short sleeve jackets. And like, it's given finance bro to me. It's giving like Patagonia vests when the fall comes around, and I'm not a fan of it. You know, let's give our characters some sleeves here when they're wearing cold weather clothing. It's okay to give them sleeves. Anyway, I don't like this outfit. I think the color combination is yet again not my favorite. Didn't love it on Brendan, didn't love it on May and Emerald. And the shades are a little different here, but I don't like them anymore. I think his shoes are mid, the brown shoes are mid, the brown bag is a little bit boring. For a guy who talks so much about how wealthy he is and about the status of his dad, I think this isn't going to cut it, bro. You got to be doing better than this if this is how you're going to be talking. I think we're going to give Barry a 5 out of 10 for this outfit. This is not a good one for me. So Barry did get a slight change in outfit for Platinum moving forward from Diamond and Pearl. All they did, funnily enough, was listen to my complaint and give him long sleeves. And I do think that makes the outfit better, because then he's not wearing a weird version of a Where's Waldo short sleeve shirt. But I don't think it's great still for the same reasons that I discussed with his original outfit. So I do think the sleeves bump him up for sure. Like, to me, that bumps up to even a 6 because of the fact that he's got normal jacket sleeves. It makes more sense. It looks better on the fit. But obviously, I'm not a fan of this outfit or of the general color scheme of it. Up next, we've got another remake. We've got Silver from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And you guys know how much I loved his original outfit. That's been the top of the leaderboard still, I think, at this point. And I think this is how you do a remake. I think, obviously, what you see change, both in the art and in the character styles, are reflective of the time period they're in. So we're no longer in this sort of like boxy pants, boxy top era from when Gold and Silver originally released. His new fit, while having similar components, is much slimmer. It's much sleeker. And Yeah, you can complain about that and say that that's maybe not fitting of what is currently popular, but I think when you look at it for what it is, this is cool. The fit is cool. The way he's got the jacket slightly unzipped at the bottom. I'm imagining one of those like double zip hoodies with one at the top and the bottom to kind of reveal the belt you're wearing. That's exactly what he's doing, and that looks cool. The sleeves are slightly flared out, sort of like the bottom of his jacket is, which is cool. The pants not quite as purple. Honestly, I think looks a little bit better. Shoes, again, not as cool as the originals, the ones that look kind of like Air Maxes, but it just works with this whole fit. And I mean, obviously he is one of, if not arguably the best rival in the entire series. I still slightly prefer the classic look of the original silver design. There is something just a little bit more charming, and maybe I'm being influenced by the old art style and some of the nostalgia of it, even though it's an era I wasn't even alive for at that point playing Pokemon. But regardless, I think that this one is going to get an 8.5 for me, slightly bumped down from that original design, but still really, really strong, and definitely one of the best outfits for a rival that we've seen thus far. Moving from one of the best rival designs we've seen to potentially another one of the worst, we've got Cheren in black and white. Now, I love black and white. Gen 5 is my favorite generation in all of Pokemon, but oh my gosh, Cheren, this is an awful, awful fit. I know that this is in an era where skinny jeans were popular. And look, I wore my fair share of skinny jeans as well. But oh my gosh, those are tights. Cheren is wearing tights. Like, even the belt area of his pants looks like it's sprayed on. You can see the entire outline of his calves in those. That is crazy. And the V-neck shirt he's wearing, that V is so low. Dude, this one is not good. This is not good. The jacket, I guess the jacket is kind of cool. It's sort of like this blazer type thing. This teal color and these darker accents that look kind of nice. And they match with the shoes, which by the way are another awful, awful piece. Those shoes look like Crocs in sport mode. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't, not even, there's no saving this outfit. This for me is like a 3 out of 10. Cheren, I love Cheren as a character. I think he's a really good rival, and I like the way they bring him back in the sequels. But oh my gosh, this is bad. This is the worst we've seen so far. Okay, so after actually the worst outfit we've seen in the entire video, we go to Bianca. Now, I feel like I'm going back a little on what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of this video I've been hating on this green and orange color palette. But when I look at Bianca's fit, I don't hate it. The color palette, at least. And I think there's a reason for that. I think when you look at the Gen 3 characters, they did this orange and green with black. And the black was very harsh. And then even in Barry's look, he had the dark pants on and the brown shoes. With Bianca, she commits to these lighter shades of orange and green, and then complements them with a white skirt and a white undershirt, or a white accents to the blouse she's wearing. And I think that works, actually. I think I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not the biggest fan of this color combo, but I think she has done it the best we've seen. I also just think the elements of her outfit are very nice. They're very like comforting. She's got the billowy hat, the fluffy sleeves, or the poofy sleeves on the blouse. She's got the longer skirt, and she just looks like a very sweet character, which kind of echoes who she is in the games. Even the hat, I think, is such a big part of her character, and how she kind of like pulls it down over her face when she's embarrassed. This is not my favorite outfit, but it fits her as a character very well, and that Pokemon did a great job of sort of having the elements of her outfit embody parts of her personality. And so I can appreciate that for sure. And I think for that reason, I will give Bianca a 6.5 out of 10. No, you know what? We'll give Bianca a 7. I think the dedication to fitting into her character is really good here, and that she does a good job. And I like her outfit. I think it looks good. So call me hypocritical, call me a flip-flopper for my opinion on the color scheme, even though I don't think my ratings are actually that different for some of these characters. It kind of feels like I'm giving them all the same thing, to be honest. But, you know, I'm sure I'm not. Moving on to who is probably seen as the actual rival, or like the real rival of the Gen 5 games, and that is N. Now, N is another one of my really heavy hitters for the rival outfits. And what N does so well, before we even talk about any pieces of the outfit, are the accessories. I think they got the accessories spot on with N. His outfit in and of itself is very simple. He's got a cap that's black and white. You think that's a reference to the games? I never even thought about that. Anyway, his top, he's got a white shirt over a black undershirt. I like the way those two layers work really well together, but or I think that those two pieces work really well together, but again, very simple. Just some tan pants and some green sneakers. But I think what really elevates this is the accessories. He's got the bracelets on one side, the gold sort of rectangular angled bracelets. He's got another band on the other wrist. He's got this like Rubik's Cube pendant that hangs off his pants. I don't know what that is exactly. I know it's referenced that he's had it since he was a child. I don't know what it is. It looks cool. And then he's got like this Team Plasma pendant or something. Honestly, again, I'm not really sure what the thing around his neck is, but it looks cool. And I think that this is how you elevate a design. And when you compare this as a simple base outfit to like the original blue outfit we talked about earlier, this is who Blue wishes he was. This is the guy that Blue is terrified of. This is the true performative man right here. He's got his perfect accessories on, and everything is working here. I think this is another really, really spot on fit. But do I think it's better than Silver? That is the question. Honestly, I don't think it's better than Silver. Than either of Silver's, to be honest. And there is one reason. I think that while the top half of this outfit is like perfect and the accessories are perfect, I'm just not feeling the pants and shoes quite as much. I don't know, like the shade of green, I don't know why his shoes are that color. And again, I don't know what Pokemon's obsession is with matching hair color to shoes or to pieces of clothing. This isn't quite as crazy as the Wally outfit, but I do still think it's kind of weird, and the bottom half of his outfit is giving hiker, while the top half is given like hipster, and I just think that it could have been a little bit more cohesive, and so for that reason, I am going to give N an 8.5, which brings him level with Silver's remake character, not quite with the original, and I think that is fair. I think that's a fair assessment of N. Up next, we move on to Gen 5 Part 2, I guess, the Black and White 2 games. And what is now becoming a rarity, it seems, we only have one character to look at, and that character is Hugh. Now, Hugh is conflicting in terms of his outfit. There are pieces of it that I really like, there are pieces of it that really confuse me, and I think that kind of just sums it up. It's sort of a mixed bag. I think the jacket is sick. I love, as you can tell by both what I'm wearing and what I've said about other characters, I'm a sucker for the zip-up jackets zipped all the way up on the characters, especially with the really flared out, super exaggerated neck area. I just think it looks super cool, and I like the stripes going down the sleeves as well. I'm a big fan of that top part of the outfit. He's also got the fingerless gloves on, and I think that just looks cool. But then we move down the outfit, and he's got what appears to be like a lunchbox around his waist. Like, I don't understand what this bag is. I know we've had some sort of mid to average bags. I don't even feel like I've talked about the bags that characters are wearing too much, but this is like insane. We can't not talk about this. How could you walk around with that on your waist? That it literally does just look like he's got a lunchbox strapped around him. Like, it's not even a fanny pack at that point. That could fit the contents of like 6 fanny packs. What are we doing there, Game Freak or game designers? Whoever designs this character, that is crazy. Then you go down to the pants, and honestly, I'm not even mad at the like half baggy into tailored pants. I just think that the way it goes from like super baggy and then it just stops and there's not really like a natural taper or anything to it is a little awkward. Again, I don't hate the idea of him wearing these sort of parachutey wind type pants, but I just think that the way that it looks in this sort of character art is a little awkward. And Hugh here has committed one of the biggest sins in my book, which is sneakers with low socks like that when you're wearing pants, dude. The ankles being out here is kind of crazy. I feel like it's given like he's a yoga instructor, especially with the way these pants are kind of weird, and I'm just not a fan. The shoes aren't bad. I actually kind of like the shoes. They look sort of like the low profile, almost look like Sambas, some sort of Adidas model with the stripes, and I'm liking it. but the no socks, the weird lunchbox thing, the kind of awkwardness of the pants just can't make this a super heavy hitting outfit for me. I think this ultimately, even though I love the jacket, as a whole composition, it's like a 6.5. I'm not a fan of it, Hugh. Alright, now we're on to Gen 6, and this might well be the longest section of the video, and that is because this is another game where we not only have the opposite player character being the rival, but they've got like a whole extra friend group that I feel kind of obliged to talk about, even if they're not like typical rivals in a sense. Because quite frankly, no one is a typical rival in this game. They're all just friends. So I feel like if we're going to cover Calem and Serena, we kind of have to cover the other two. So when we look at Calem as a rival, one thing that's we also have to consider with the player characters is that they have their rival outfits, but without the hats, which I think just ultimately takes away a lot of the outfits. I don't really know why they did that. I guess it's to distinguish between your rival and your player character, but I think it's kind of unnecessary. And I think it just ultimately makes the outfits very plain in comparison. I think especially you look at Calem here, he's got the red hat with the glasses on top, which I think is a nice complement to what is a very monochromatic fit. Otherwise, you've got the blue jacket, which I think is cool, the tight pants, which whether or not you're a fan of them, I think we're a period of time where this was relevant. That made sense. And the combat boots all the way up. I even arguably like the way that he wears the combat boots in this case. I think it looks cool. I think the fit as a whole is pretty solid, but I think that the fact that he's missing out on this hat as a rival just takes away so much like the pop that he needed. And that definitely impacts the outfit poorly. And I think to me, again, it makes it like a 6. I think honestly, at least with Hugh's fit, which they're kind of arguably similar elements here, there was a little bit more character to it because he had sort of the different colors, he had the different fits, but this ultimately just ends up being a very plain look. And maybe that was intentional because of the fact that they introduced the player customization in this game, but definitely doesn't help create an identity around the rival characters, in my opinion. I think in a similar vein, Serena suffers from the lack of hat in her outfit, for lack of better words. She ends up as a rival literally only wearing a little black top, a red skirt, these super high socks, and then black sneakers. Again, this one is not anything to write home about. In my opinion, this is actually a little bit worse than Calem's because she's wearing the all black Converse. I feel like those are crazy. Couldn't even get the little ones that have the white sole and the white toe cap. I think the solely black Converse is crazy work here. I think there's nothing particularly memorable or special about this look to me. I think the one thing that's kind of cool is it looks like there's some sort of a pocket on the side of her, not dress, her skirt, which is kind of cool. I think that as a piece is interesting. I think the outfit as a whole, not so much for me, especially without the hat. Honestly, I don't really like her hat. Maybe it's better without the hat. I don't know. I think this gets like a 5.5 for me. Now we move on to like the chuckle squad of Gen 6. I'm just gonna be honest, none of these are gonna be good. And I think we're starting off with a relatively safe one, I guess. You've got Tierno, who wearing a little vanillite graphic tee. He's got some long shorts on and some insane looking shoes. Like those look like water shoes. I don't know what he's got on his feet. I think there's nothing particularly special about this outfit. It quite frankly is just giving like a side character. I wouldn't be surprised if there were NPCs in every single town in Kalos walking around in this outfit. Like that is how mid I think that it is. And I think it's just a burn-of-the-mill 5. It's just a t-shirt and shorts. And I don't think any of the pieces, like the colors aren't particularly great. And I just don't think it's worth even much more of a conversation. Next up, we've got Chantal, who I think is actually, maybe I spoke too soon because I'm looking back at her outfit and I think this might be the best of the bunch in Kalos. I think she's got this sort of Bowie t-shirt, but the little hair tie looking thing around her arm as well, which complements with the little accents on her jean shorts. And then she's got the bag to match. She's got the shoes. Honestly, this is kind of a good look. I think her hair is also really interesting. It looks cool, which I didn't really talk about for Tierno, but what was going on there? He had like a man bun with shaved sides, and that was not looking good. But I think this is a cute design. I think that this as a character really works. This is something that would, I think, have been better as like a main rival. I think there's a lot more personality here. than what you end up getting from Calem and Serena as rivals. And I think I'm going to give this a 7.5. I think this is good, and I like this for the region. I think for the time it came out, like this hot pink era that was going on around, what was this, 2013 or so. You know, this is a good look. We'll give it to not Serena. This is Chantal. Okay, I just realized I called Shauna Chantal for the whole of that. I think Chantal is one of the Elite Four members in Gen 5, the Ghost one. So sorry about that, but yeah, I would give Shauna a 7.5 here. I think ultimately it's relatively simple, but that there are lots of, you know, nice little details to this outfit that I think elevate it. Okay, now we've left the absolute worst in this region for last, and that is because we are going to be talking about Trevor. How is this a main story character? Trevor here looks like a lost schoolboy, which apparently their Pokemon ended up thinking wasn't good enough for an entire game later on in the franchise, but that's besides the point. Trevor is wearing like a little polo with these pants and green shoes that are not the same shade of green, but they match with his backpack. And I'm sorry, I know we haven't really been talking again about hair all that much, but look at the cut on this guy. Oh my gosh, he's a ginger with the most insane like bowl cut I have ever seen. The ends of his hair like curl up onto his face. That is crazy. I do not like this character. He looks annoying. Trevor looks like the kid who asked the teacher why they didn't assign homework at the end of the day. Like, this cannot fly as a main character in a Pokemon game. This is unacceptable. Trevor, look, I mean, honestly, the fit itself is relatively basic and not offensive, but Trevor, just because of the character he is, because of the aura he's giving off to me, gets a 2. This is unacceptable. This might be the worst. This might be the worst character in the games. This one is killing me. I'm sorry. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think my tone is going to change too much for a little bit here, because we are entering, or it seems we have already entered into the area that I think is just the worst for trainer designs. We're now moving on to the Hoenn remakes with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And I mean, that means, once again, we're going to be talking about Brendan and May. And this look for Brendan, I think, is undoubtedly his worst in the entire series. Brendan looks like he's wearing a wetsuit. He's wearing like a skin-tight top with the shorts that seem to be the same, but then get loose near his knees. Like, is it supposed to be a cycler's outfit because they have the different bikes in Hoenn? I'm not understanding this outfit. And the shoes, those shoes are criminal. Those look so bad. The way they flip up at the toe, the fact that they're not low, they're like mid-cut, I think. He's got mid-cut sneakers that curl up at the toe. He's got shants on. He's got a skin-tight shirt. This is just not good for me. I think this is a 4. This is a solid 4 for me. It's better than Trevor, because Trevor is quite possibly the most obnoxious-looking character in all of Pokemon. But this is not good as a rival or as a main character. As a main character, this outfit is rough. Now, per usual, May's outfit is better than Brendan's. And actually, you know I was talking bad about this era of design, but I think I've come to a realization, which is that this is a bad era for male trainer designs. Some of the girl trainers have had really good looks. I thought Shauna in the last one was good. I think May here, honestly, this look rivals her original. She's got on like this cutoff tank in this orange color with a little undershirt in black for some accents that frills out at the bottom, which I think is a cool accent, and that is honestly a little bit cooler than just the long white shirt that she had. You've also got the black biker shorts still there, but under some denim shorts, which is kind of an interesting nod back to her original design with the long white shirt, but you keep that like white block with the black, but make those the shorts. I think that's a super cool and super interesting concept. She's got the sort of weird sporty shoes as well, but one thing that she does here is she eliminated those black socks that I was so not a fan of, and I really like this. I think that the headband. Unfortunately for me, I do like the bandana better. I do like it, but this look is a solid one. I think I'm going to give this a 7.5. I think this is a good look. There's some elements of it I don't love as much as the original May design, but I think as a whole, the character of it is there. And you know what? I like it. And talk about a glow up for a character. Oh my goodness. Wally here has got maybe the best fit in the whole game, I might say. Wally is wearing this white collared shirt, but the collar isn't just a typical one. I don't know what the name of this design is, but it's one of those collars that kind of swoops over. It looks like something like Harry Styles would wear. And he's got the overcoat on that's in this kind of light blue, the pale, really light jeans cuffed over the shoes, just a simple side bag. I think ultimately this is a really simple outfit, again, from Wally, but it's just elevated a little bit. Like, this looks like a classy outfit. And I think the fact that he's got this sort of blue jacket that kind of swoops, and then it sort of ends up complementing the look of the Mega Gallade cape, which becomes his ace in this game. You know, I think Wally did good here. To me, this is an 8. This is a really solid yet simple outfit. I think when we talk about that simple look on certain rivals, this takes it like to the peak. You know, he's not doing too much, and ultimately he's kind of a nothing character, but at least he's gonna look fly. Up next, we've got How, and something I think for the Alola games that I have told myself I need to consider is the environment. So, like, do I think that this outfit is anywhere near as good as some of the other outfits we've seen? Like, even the Wally one we just talked about, or N? No, I don't. But at the same time, he's living in a island environment, and so there's just going to be a difference in what good outfits look like for that. You know, your summer outfits aren't going to be as intricate as your winter ones because of layering, but there are still ways to make it look good. And I think How does an okay job of that. I feel like maybe I gave him too much of a lead-in for what is ultimately, I think, still just kind of a fine design. I like some of the little details on it. I like the patterns on his swim trunks. I like the collar of his shirt and sort of the little cutout in it with the white outline. I think that is all cool. The sandal type shoes also work. I think what it is with this outfit, I think it all works. It all makes sense for the environment, but it's just nothing is screaming at me. I think this is a very meh outfit. I think for me, this is like a solid 6.5. I think I'm realizing at this point my scale is a little inflated. Like, this, when you talk about a mid plain outfit, should probably be a 5, but I think I've unfortunately at this point set the scale a little bit too high, the average, the mean, and so for that I think we got to inflate How a little bit. And you know, I think that might be fair because I think this is a good design for what it is. Now, one of the reasons I brought up knowing the outfit and for the environment was partially because of this next character. Up next, we've got Gladion, who is the like emo kid, the emo misunderstood, angry rival of this Alola games. And you know, you could put it down to a taste thing, maybe, that he's got some of these weird cutouts in his shirts and the flared sleeves with the sleeveless hoodie, and say you don't like the outfit because of that. But I also just think, I'm trying to imagine wearing this outfit on an island where it's sunny, and that would just be crazy. Like, you're wearing double layers on top. You've got a compression shirt with a sleeveless hoodie on top. That's kind of crazy for that weather. I just know that my boy is sweating as he mopes across all of the islands in Alola. And I just think you've got to take into account the appropriate nature of the outfit for the environment. And I don't think this one works for what it is. I get that he's the emo kid. I get that he's the disturbed kid. But I feel like Team Skull and Guzma are able to capture like the sort of angsty look while still being like, okay, this is an island. This makes sense. This does not do it for me. Also, if we want to just look at the outfit objectively, those pants... Brother, you need to get yourself some longer pants because I'm seeing way too much ankle going on right now. He's even wearing high tops. He's wearing high tops and you can still see that much leg. That is insane. Get this guy some new pants. I know his mother's absent, someone's got to help him out. So it looks like I forgot to actually assign Gladion a rating, but as you can tell, I wasn't really feeling this one too much. So we're going to give him a 5.5. Up next, we go back for the third time, which is kind of insane, by the way, but that's a different story, to Kanto. Although this time, we are not going back for Blue. We're going for Trace in the Pokemon Let's Go games. Now, Trace once again falls victim to the incredibly sporty look that we're seeing in trainers. As of recent, he's got on a black short sleeve compression shirt with these like green sweatpants and what appear to be black socks riding over the sweatpants, but really high up the sweatpants, and some sneakers. I just again think that, look, I know athleisure is a very valid and very popular form of clothing and expression, but I do think that by leaning in this direction, you lose out on a lot of the different possibilities, and you lose out on a lot of the different way that the clothes can interact with the body and fit differently, because they're all just compression. And I know it's a video game, and I know that ultimately like the textures in these games are something that are always up for debate, but I think it just makes everything look very flat, you know? Like when they're wearing cargo pants, the characters, or even just jeans, you can see the way they sit on the shoes, or the way that they kind of bunch up on the bottom, or you can see the way the sleeves can be rolled up, or you can have extra pieces of cloth poking out for layering and things like that. And you don't get that opportunity with looks like this. Like it just looks like he's wearing a wetsuit. And I think that for me is just, it's a 5. Like that is a true 5. There's nothing really here that I think sets him apart, and unfortunately he's just loses identity. It was always going to be hard to create a character, a rival in Kanto that would rival Blue, and this just definitely was not going to help this outfit. Moving on to the Galar region with a character that I actually like the look of, you know? I think this is one of the newer gen characters that I can see the vision with, and I'm kind of on board with it. Hop is just wearing black pants and a black shirt. There's nothing inherently special or unique about either of those things. In fact, there actually appear in some art to be like a set, like a sporty set with these purple stripes down the side and a logo on the t-shirt, which kind of complements his shoes. But they throw on top this denim jacket with the Sherpa coming out of on the collar and on the bottom and even on the sleeves when he rolls them up. And maybe it's not doing a lot. Maybe there's not ultimately a lot going on here. Like there isn't. He's not really got a lot of accessories. It's ultimately a very simple and plain outfit. But I kind of like it. And when I think back to when this game came out, it kind of makes me think of the sort of athleisure moment of wearing track pants and flannels that were a little bit baggy. And while this was a little after the fact, I can kind of see some of the references of that era of fashion in Hop's look and kind of appreciate it for that. You know, ultimately he's not doing a lot. It's very simple, but I do kind of like it, and I think it works, and I think that is warranting a 7 on my scale. You know, this is a guy who gets beat down for the whole game, and at least he's got a slightly above average outfit while doing so. Next up, we've got one of the other rivals of this generation, and that is Bede. We're gonna call him Bede. I don't know. Now his official art doesn't really show off the outfit too much because he's got his back turned to us. But essentially he's wearing this really baggy, really big purple coat and some really tight pants underneath it and some really baggy shoes, or bulky shoes I should say. And I actually really like the jacket in this outfit. I think that the bag being part of the jacket is kind of interesting and a little bit insane, honestly, but it's less extreme than the version we saw on Hugh's belt. But what really confuses me here is how tight the pants are. Like, it looks like he's wearing leggings because of how long and drapey the jacket is and how bulky the shoes are. And so I'm just not really loving the proportions of this. I just, you know, it doesn't really feel super cohesive to me. I really do like the jacket though. I think it's cool. I think the detail on it is nice. And for that, I'll give him a 6.5, but I just can't go any higher than that because of the fact that I don't think this really works as an entire outfit. Now, who does work as an entire outfit is Marnie. Now, Marnie, I think, has a really cool outfit, and there's some place I want to start on this, and that is the shoes. It has been the trend that all of the main Pokemon trainers wear really sporty shoes. I think in some of the older art, it trended towards, actual sneaker designs. You get sort of more current, and the shoes end up just looking kind of whack, honestly, like weird sort of water shoes or really pointed things. And Marnie isn't really following with that trend. She is wearing these little boots that have studs all over them that match with the studs all over her leather jacket, with soles that match the color of her light pink dress. And I think that's a really cool look. I also think it's nice that she has that more subtle pink color. That's not quite the exact shade that the Team Yell grunts all wear. Yeah, I really like this outfit yet again. I think, once again, there's a little bit more attention to detail and uniqueness that goes into the female character outfits that unfortunately is missing from some of the male characters and the male rivals. I think Marnie has a super cool outfit that rivals, honestly, some of the best that we've seen so far. I think that also just the general proportions of it work. I think the fact that the dress hangs a little bit under the jacket but is not super long works well. The boots are a little bit bulky. Honestly, I've never seen any shoes like this, and they do look a little bit crazy for being so flared out at the top with her ankles just kind of poking out of them. But again, I don't want that to take away from the fact that I think that this is a nice outfit that works well together, and especially with the trends we've seen of characters sort of veering towards this purely sporty look, this is a refreshing change, and I think for me this gets an 8. Now, the game that comes chronologically next would be the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes, but those games use they're literally copy and paste of Diamond and Pearl, both in the outfits, both in the entire gameplay, really. And so there's nothing really there to critique that is different, because Barry is just wearing the same outfit. And you know how I felt about Barry's outfit. What I do think is unfortunate about that, and I hope is not a trend we start to see, is that you don't get to see the reflection or an interpretation of the look for a new time period. Like, it would have been super interesting for me, in my opinion, to see what a 2020s version of not only the protagonists of the game, but Barry, the rival, would have looked like. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see those, and I really do hope that that doesn't become a trend. Even next up, we've got the Legends Arceus game, which is yet another game that doesn't really have a rival. Battling isn't really a huge component of this game. It's purely about catching Pokemon and about building up the first Pokédex. And I don't think that Volo really constitutes a rival. I think he becomes more of a villain of the games. And so I think this is another one that just doesn't have a rival. And I've seen some people online suggesting that just the opposite character, yet again, is a rival in this game. And I think that is where I just have to draw the line, because there's just no real rivalry. They battle occasionally, but I just don't really see those characters as rivals. They really just... I feel like the opposite player character in these games is more akin to the opposite gender character in the Heart Gold Soul Silver games, who is really just there to kind of progress along. And while you do battle with this character in Legends Arceus on a couple occasions, I just don't think that constitutes being a rival. That is where I draw the line. Moving on to Scarlet and Violet, the last installment we've had that is a completely new generation. And as I'm looking at these characters, I feel like this is kind of where I've dug myself into a hole by being more open-ended with who constitutes as a rival, because now I feel like I have to talk about more characters than realistically I should, which doesn't help, because there's also 2 different looks for some of those characters based on which game you pick. But the without a doubt rival of this game is Nemona. When I look at Nemona's outfit here, I see a problem that is more of a reflection of the game as a whole, which is that there's not a lot of personality in all of these outfits because of the fact that they're all wearing school uniforms. However, I do think there are a couple instances where they're able to get that in, which I do appreciate. So Nemona here in both of her outfits, we'll start with the Scarlet one, is just wearing the simple Scarlet. Is it Scarlet Academy? Scarlet and Uva Academy, is that what they call them? I think. Regardless, just the simple school uniform with the shirt, the tie, and the shorts. But she does get a little bit more of her own sort of personality in there. She's got the sleeve on her right arm for throwing Pokeballs to help her. It's like a compression sleeve, which is kind of cool. It's almost like she's got a shooter sleeve on, as well as these tights and a more performance looking bag and shoes. Now, I know I've spent a lot of time criticizing this athletic look to a lot of the characters. However, I do feel that with Nemona here, it's kind of a nice touch because her whole look isn't sporty, but the sportiness of it indicates that she is just so obsessed with Pokemon battling that these performance items help her with that. Like the sleeve is literally necessary because of how many times and how frequently she throws Pokeballs. And I do appreciate that, even though I think ultimately this design as a whole, because of the fact that she's just wearing a school uniform, doesn't have quite as much character as some of the other rivals. So I think I really don't like the school uniform. I think that both in Scarlet and in Violet, there's just not a lot to say. I think that the Scarlet one is slightly better because I think that the like gray tone that you get in that Violet shirt is just a little bit weird. And I think that the Scarlet uniform just kind of complements the red accents of her sleeve and her shoes a little bit better. But I just think, I'm going to give them both a combined rating because it is sort of a similar look, and just say that this sits at about like a 6 for me. I think it's pretty average. I think the sleeve on its own, while it is a nice touch, is unfortunately not good enough to carry this to anything higher. I know for a fact that this character, calling him a rival is going to get some people frustrated. I really don't think he's a rival. But I do think that because I touched on the friend group in Gen 6, that I kind of just have to touch on these as well. Arven is a similar case to Nemona, where he's just wearing his school outfit. Once again, I think that the Scarlet one is slightly better because there's a little bit of pop of blue on the vest that sort of contrasts better than just the purple look on the Violet outfit. But again, this is just a very uninspired design. He's just wearing his school uniform. I think the hiking sort of accessories are sort of nice because we know he's on this adventure across the region trying to find Herba Mystica. But again, uninspired. And to me, this one is worse than Nemona's because I think there's just less character in it. I don't think a hiking backpack and some boots make this all that unique. And for that reason, I'm just going to give it a straight up 5. Now, moving on yet again, we've got the last character of this group, and that is Penny. Now, Penny is interesting because she is not wearing the traditional school outfit of either of these games. However, sometimes your character can have some individuality in their style and it still just be complete trash. And honestly, I hate to say it, but Penny, what is going on here? She looks like she's wearing some galoshes with tights. There's like shorts, but like a translucent skirt over it and a hoodie. I think the fact that she's got the Eevee backpack is kind of cool because it's a nod to what Pokemon she uses in battle. But overall, girl, this is kind of a whack outfit. This is why some parents want to send their kids to schools with uniforms. Because otherwise they come out walking around like this. And you're just gonna get bullied. I know that they were like the reverse bullies in this case. But girl, if you got bullied at school, this is probably why. To me, this gets a 5 as well. But I think this is worse because this is a 5, not because of a lack of character, but because her own individuality was just that bad. Jeez, there are so many characters in this game. This one is genuinely, I think, considered a rival. It's Kieran. Kieran is again wearing like a uniform. I don't know if this is the Blueberry Academy uniform because when you actually go to the Blueberry Academy part of the DLC, his outfit changes. There's kind of a lot going on here. He's got these high top boots but with shorts and little socks peeking out. he's got his uniform, but it's under like a athletic windbreaker, it looks like, and some performance shorts. I just think there's quite a little bit too much going on here. I think there's also a lot of colors going on. They don't particularly all go together very well. Honestly, I think this is just an uninspired design for me. And to me, his fit is okay. I just don't think the pieces go together very well. Like, these shoes with shorts is kind of a crazy call. And for me, that gives him a 6. I think it's better than what Penny was wearing. And I think there's more character to it than what Arven's look was. But ultimately, I don't think it's anything that special. I couldn't find any official art for his updated look, sort of in the second part of the Scarlet and Violet DLC. But I do think this one is better because I think it's more cohesive. He looks to be wearing a more full-on athletic outfit. He's taken off the sort of shirt and tie, and he's wearing a tank top. He's got these big, like, athletic looking socks kind of rolled down over his shoes. The hair's tied up and out of his face, except for the one strand, which is a choice, but whatever. I do just overall think this is a slightly better look. I think I can't give it above a 6.5 still because I just think that it doesn't really speak to me super loudly. I think the tank top design is a little corny with the like flaming Pokeball, but I do think it is better, and I think that this is a cool progression of him, and it matches sort of the personality and the battle obsessed nature of him in this part of the story. All right, we're in the home stretch here, which means we're going to be talking about the most recent game that's come out, Pokemon Legends ZA, and we're going to be covering just the whole of Team MZ. I know that technically Naveen and Lida might not be seen as rivals, but we're just going to talk about all of them because I think they've all got kind of interesting looks, and it's worth bringing some attention to them. Starting out with the rival character, once again, we've got 2 potential rivals, but it's not just the opposite of the player character. It is 2 very similar looking characters that are determined based on the gender of the character you pick. So if you pick the male character, your rival is going to be Taunie here, who I think has, yes, a simple look, but I think a really nice look. I think there's a lot of personality in what she wears. She wears something very casual. She's got this sort of red crop top and some white shorts and these sneakers that kind of look like Jordan 1s. Kind of cool to go back to sneakers that look more reminiscent of actual real shoes. And she's got this workwear jacket, which is not seem to have a lot to it, but it is actually a bit of a piece of the story. It is canonically her mother's jacket, which is kind of a nice touch. And I think, again, pretty simple outfit, not too much going on, but I really like it. I think all of the pieces are nice. I think the base outfit itself without the jacket looks nice, but then with the jacket, it's, elevated a little bit more, and it's also a nice personal touch, the story that is behind it. And I think it's also cool that the outfit clearly is meaningful to her, in the sense that in the story, when she goes to a more fancy hotel, she refuses to change looks. So it seems very true to her. I think it matches her look very well, and I think it's pretty solid. I think this is a good 7.5 for me. I don't think it's doing anything particularly crazy. Not a lot of really accessorizing going apart from the Mega Ring, but I think it does what it does pretty decently. Next up, we've got Ubrain, who, if you pick the female protagonist, will be your rival in the story. And there's some similarity to his outfit in the sense of the jacket, because that is the story element that unites both Taunie and Arven. But his outfit overall is a little bit different. It's a lot sportier. He's wearing a graphic t-shirt. At first I thought it was maybe a white t-shirt with a graphic over it, but it looks like that is just the lining and the trimming of the shirt. He's got some sweatpants on with a little arrow pattern, and then he's wearing some sneakers that kind of look like the more recent Air Max sneakers that are out, which again, kind of nice to see. But ultimately, I just think that Tawnie's outfit is a little bit better. I think there's some similarities to this outfit and Hop's outfit in the sense of meshing the athleisure with some more classic pieces like that jacket. But I just don't think he does it to quite as good of an extent, really. I think also it is less, that just as a style is a lot less relevant, and it honestly kind of ends up looking like he's wearing pajamas with a workwear jacket on top, which I don't think is incredibly cohesive. I think this for me is like a 6. Not super impressive. I think maybe if the sweatpants weren't cuffed sweatpants, which I think is unfortunate, that it feels like looking back, Game Freak has been very in tune with some of the at least stylistic trends, and those kinds of pants just aren't really reflective of the design cycles we're in right now. So a little unfortunate. I think that that's what the look that they went for. But, you know, I don't think it's incredibly, it's not a bad fit. It's just meh. Next up, we've got Naveen. And now Naveen is interesting because his entire premise as a character is that he sews, he's a designer, he's really into fashion and clothing. So you would have high expectations for him. And I think there are some areas where he meets those expectations and others where he falls short. Now, I think this is definitely an outfit that has a lot going on. There's lots of intricacies to it. He's got a sort of collared shirt with a tie and a sweater on with a jacket on top, with the jacket having lots of different patterns and design elements to it. He's wearing a pair of slacks. And then he's got on these sneakers that almost look like the Balenciaga sock shoes, the sock trainers or whatever they were called, that were popular, you know, a little bit ago now. Overall, I think this is a really fun outfit to play around with a character who is like the fashion guy. I think the sort of elevated look of the tie with the sweater, but then the more street aspect of the jacket and the sneakers is really fun. And I think just a really appropriate look for this character. I do think that some of the patterns on it are a little like corny, for lack of a better word. Like, I get the Team MZ logo on it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the tie. It looks kind of like a reference to Aegislash, but that's also not a Pokemon that he uses. Yeah, I don't know. There's something off about it in that sense. I think the patterns make it look a little bit, you know, fast fashion-y and not super timeless, like maybe some of our other protagonists that I've ranked highly. But I do think that the amount of effort and the intricacy that went into designing this definitely is apparent and stands out. And for me, I think that makes this look also like a 7.5 for me. I think it's just not really my taste. One thing I haven't touched on that I do appreciate is the beads in his hair that match in with the orange. That is cool. And I do think it's nice to see the sneakers not being completely matchy-matchy. I feel like purple still kind of works here tonally. But this is one of the unique cases where I think we don't see a character who is fully matchy-matchy in every aspect, and that is cool. So you know what, actually? Let's bump my boy Naveen up to an 8. I think he deserves that. I think there's a lot going on here, and that's good. Now, last but not least, we have Lida. And Lida's interesting because I'm looking at her character now, and I feel like there are a lot of similarities between her and Tierno. Like, she's got the little 3-pronged hair thing. She's got some similar colors on her outfit. And I'm wondering if there's a connection there that I missed. So if anyone knows that, let me know. Overall, she's got a look that I think matches her character. She is a dancer. She seems to be wearing shoes. I don't know. I don't know a lot about dancing. They look like they would be good for dancing. Like, they seem kind of tap shoe adjacent. I like the bulkier wool socks matched with the tights. And then she's just got on an oversized hoodie. And I think her hoodie, while it still does have that Team MZ logo, isn't in a different vein to Naveen's, isn't too busy. I like the little strings attached in the back. I think her hairstyle is very cool. I just think her look as a character makes sense for who she is. It matches her personality. It matches the hobby that she has in the Pokemon world. And for that reason, I think it makes sense. Am I absolutely in love with it? Not particularly. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but I think it works for her. And so we're going to round off this video giving Lida an inoffensive 7.5. Thank you guys for watching. I feel like this might end up being a lot longer than I thought. I didn't realize quite how many rival adjacent characters there were in Pokemon. Just off the top of my head, it didn't fully register. But I had fun kind of going through the different eras of the games. It's interesting to see not only how the outfits have changed, but how the general design trend, both in the character art, but also just in the way the fitment of clothing on characters has changed as these games has progressed. But I think that is one of the beauties of having a franchise that has been so long lasting as Pokemon, is that you get to see all these unique and different design aspects, and you get to see how the games have progressed. And now, whether or not you think they're progressing in a direction you like or not, that can be a different story. I think, me personally, not to be overly negative on the more recent games, because I do think Legend CA has been a positive turn, but I haven't been as big of a fan of all of the character outfits in the more recent games. I think the sort of uniform look of Scarlet and Violet kind of took away a lot of the personality in outfits. I think some of the general, as I've mentioned, sort of wetsuit, really overly athletic looking pieces have taken away a lot of the personality that some of the characters have had. But this game, Legend CA, has given me sort of hope and optimism that that could potentially be changing. Uh, who's to say? I guess only the future will tell whether that's the case or not. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of the rival outfits, or all of the rival outfits, I should say, within the Pokemon series. And if you enjoyed this, maybe we can look at some more aesthetics in Pokemon later on. Bye.